Hi class. So about the blood typing. So many of you had questions on the blood typing after or during the test. So we have blood types, right? Let's say this is blood type A and this is type blood B. So A and B is just different types of antigens that tissues, in this case is the cell, has. So with those antigens, the cells could be recognized by their own system, let's say. So blood type A has an antigen A, and obviously it should have anti-B antibodies, anti-B. And the blood type B has anti-A, antibody A. For the purposes of if there's a transfusion of B type blood into the A, anti-B would act on this B antigen and will destroy it. It will refuse it. So that will lead to agglutination, for clumping. So if we look at these images here, right, type A blood has antibody B. Type B blood has antibody A. So if the B would get into the A, this antibody will act on it. Type AB blood has both antigens, has antigen A and has antigen B. So for this reason, AB blood do not have any antibodies, right? None. Because if type AB would have antibody A and antibody B, it would attack itself. Type O do not have any antibodies, and that's why type O is a universal donor. That was one of the questions that people struggle with that as well. So if you do not have any antigens, antibodies that are present in this blood would not act on antigens because they do not exist on the group O, right? So the group O blood is a universal donor that any of these groups can receive just because it doesn't have antigens. So many of you had trouble with that, even though we did in the lab, we performed those tests. So some of you were confused with anti-A serum and anti-B serum. But the anti-A serum and anti-B serum, you can treat them as similar as antibody B or antibody A. So you see here, group A has anti-B. So for us to make sure that when you're testing for unknown blood type, you want to use anti-serum that would act on its own blood. If it will act on its own blood, you would know for sure that this is the blood type. So here in the example, for example, let's look at the B, right? So remember we tested for different people, right? Let's say for John, right? You tested for John, and you had that little slide with two options, right? We had three options, but we didn't test for Rh factor. We're gonna talk about that later. So we only tested for A or B. We wanted to know if John has A or B. We took the John blood, right? We put it right here. Then we took the John blood and we put it right here. Unknown, right? So we know it's John, but we do not really know is it A or B. Then we took the anti-A and placed it here. And then we took the anti-B and placed it here. And we wanted to see agglutination. So this anti-serum A, if you put it in A and it's A, it would clump. So here, when we took A, it didn't clump. But when we use anti-B serum and we put it under this letter, because this letter doesn't mean anything, we put it here, right? It clumped. So it's antibody B attacks this blood. So when the antibody or anti-B, this serum, attacks this side, right? Because it's, let's say we decided that this should be probably A and this should be probably B. It agglutinated, it clumped here. So its antibodies attacked that particular drop of blood. So if antibody B attacks this, it means that this blood has B antigen. Let's look at this again. If group A naturally would have antibody A, then this antibody A would attack its own antigen. That's why group A do not have antibody A, it has antibody B against somebody else. So it's kind of reciprocal. And we use anti-B and anti-A serum in order to see if the drop of blood will agglutinate. That would be a positive test. So this is positive, right? So positive, then you know it's B, because this blood has those antigens in there. That's why antibody B, those antibodies, anti-B, acted on. The same thing we could do for AB. So you have a drop of blood, right? Let's say we have a drop of blood, right? We're looking at this one now, AB. We have a drop of blood, let's say again for Daniel, for example, right? We have 2 drops of blood. We don't know the blood type. We put anti-A serum here, this one, and we put anti-B serum here, and they both agglutinate. So we know that this one has B antigen and this has A antigen. Same thing for just A or for the O. So let's say we do this for Rachel, for example. Right, we have these 2 drops, right, like that, and we put anti-A serum here and anti-B serum, just because O do not have any antigens right here, right, do not have any antigens. So that's why there are no clumping. It's a positive test for us in this case, that's all blood. I think it's clear. Now Rh factor or rhesus. So Rh, it is the same antigen, only Rh equals antigen D, like antigen A here, right? Like antigen A, antigen B, 2 antigens or non-antigens. So the Rh is just another type of antigen. If it's positive, right, we call it positive, it means that it has a D. If it's negative, right, D, then it do not have any D. So let's say you can have a blood type like that. You can have a blood type, it's A positive. It means that it has A antigen and it has, let's say, D antigen. So it's A plus. Same thing would be for B plus or minus negative. Or same could be for O negative or O positive. If O positive, then there are no A antigen, there is no B antigen, but there is D antigen, right? If it's negative, it do not have A, do not have B, do not have D, but this negative or plus only in references to D. We didn't do that Rh test because we didn't have Rh serum. However, remember it was like another space here for Rh factor. So if we would have Rh serum, it would be the same thing. It would be anti-Rh or anti-B, or I'm sorry, anti-D. You would put it here. If we will clump, then it has a D antigen plus, Rh plus. Then you would know that the blood would be A positive. If we wouldn't clump by placing anti-D or anti-Rh into this blood and wouldn't clump, then it would be A negative. We just didn't have that during lab. I hope this is clear. So with Rh, with pregnancies, if the mother is, let's say, A negative, it does not have that Rh factor, so it doesn't have that D antigen. So if the first baby is positive, everything is fine. But when there is a second pregnancy, then the body will develop antibodies against this positive, and then will create those anti-D or anti-Rh positive and will act on it. And that will lead to the same type of hemolysis as if you would place anti-A into A or anti-B into B. So with the second pregnancy, that could lead to a incompatibility, can lead to hemolytic disease of the newborn. I hope it was clear. All right. Have a good day.